Shoot, I can push the button.
I got it. I got it.
Who's
Every,
on first?
everything's good. We're live on Facebook. We're live.
All right. Let me find all my controls here. Well, sorry we're a minute late to everyone who's joining. We each thought that the other was going to push the button. So, classic who's on first we had there. We've got a really special guest here with us today. And we're going to be talking about cybersecurity advocacy in accounting, which kind of sounds like a lame title, but I promise we've got some good stuff for you. We've got some really good stuff planned for you today. Mandy usually does intros, though.
I know you're kind of stepping on my toes here.
Yeah, I'll get off.
So we're super excited. I'm Mandy Sullivan, the Executive Account Manager here at Visory, always joined by my partner in crime, Sam Schumacher, who is the Director of Product and Solutioning at Visory. And today we are super, super excited to have Vanessa Vesquez. Did I come close?
Yes.
Join us today to talk about cybersecurity and accountants. Vanessa is a 18-year Latina entrepreneur. She is a top pro advisor of the year, which Sam and I were there when she won that award, and it was so exciting. She's an amazing content creator. She's a certified pro advisor. And the most of all, she is one of the nicest, sweetest people you will ever meet in your life. When she walks into a room, you can just like feel the aura of the room change. She is just so bubbly. She just makes everybody feel welcome. So Vanessa, we are super excited that you have decided to join Sam and I today on this webinar.
Yes, thank you so much. Oh my God, that introduction was beautiful.
Oh,
Thank you
no,
so
you totally deserve that. You totally
thank you.
deserve that.
Thank you for having me. I am thrilled to be here. I love you guys. I met you at a retreat, like for real. And then after that, we just became friends. And I love the fact that you guys are so involved in helping us as accountants to keep on going, but not only accountants, but also all the business owners out there that really want to keep impacting their way of living, their way of interacting with their clients, and their way of creating living legacies. So I'm very excited to be here.
That's great.
Well, we couldn't be more thrilled, and I've got to say, I love that you are an appologist, because until relatively recently, I did not even know that was a thing, and I think it's incredible.
Thank you so much. I love apps. What can I say?
I know that you do. We have had tons of conversations about those. All right, so we'll go over our agenda briefly, and then we'll dive into content. And so we're going to just talk briefly about the cyber threat landscape. Where we see the trends, what's emerging. We're going to talk about cost and sort of the myth around cost, and we're going to talk about the paradigm shift that we're seeing in business leaders with how they think about cybersecurity spending. And then we're going to talk about what we really see happening that's going to be transformational in the accounting space over the next 12 months. And that is accountants becoming cybersecurity advocates and cybersecurity consultants in a lot of ways, or at least the facilitators of cybersecurity consulting for their small business, medium business, and small enterprise customers. So that's where we're going today. And we'll also talk about our favorite thing, which is really building a culture of security. That's something that Mandy and I have been talking about for a couple of years, and we think that that's where cybersecurity really starts.
Mm-hmm.
So, as accountants, it's critical that you all stay savvy about the cyber threats that are out there. Phishing and social engineering remain really big ones. Hackers often pose as trusted contacts to make you think that they are someone else or to get you to reveal information, right? So Social engineering is just manipulation. That's the way to look at it. And phishing is just the use of technology to again manipulate you and convince you to give up either credentials or other sensitive information. And those attacks can come from a myriad of places. So it can be through email. I think that's the one that we're most familiar with. Text message, the smishing, that started to emerge a couple of years ago. Vanessa, how many texts do you get about your Amazon driver trying to reach you every month?
Oh dear, it's like insane, insane. I don't have sound in my cell phone anymore because there are way too many things coming in.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And then there's the old school phone call. And so we're going to talk about a real example of that in a little while. So again, bad actors use credible information when they're socially engineering you as a manipulation tactic. Supply chain attacks are also on the rise. These are scenarios where your bad actors, your cyber criminals, target a less secure vendor that's in your ecosystem. So we are all highly integrated. We're all in the cloud. We've got tons of different services talking to each other. And by targeting a vulnerability in a small vendor that doesn't have the same kind of resources available, or maybe they were a startup and they haven't budgeted for it, or in some cases, it's really big players. I think about the SolarWinds attack from a couple of years ago. Bad actors essentially found an exploit, a vulnerability in a legitimate software patch. So in the patching process, they were able to insert malicious code into that patch. And when SolarWinds pushed out the update to people and people deployed it across their environments, thousands of private companies, government agencies, schools all had opened a door essentially to allow data exfiltration, sensitive information to be compromised. And that was through a legitimate update that was happening to remote monitoring and managing software. So those supply chain attacks can just be absolutely devastating. I think about a few weeks ago, CrowdStrike, right? So while this wasn't a supply chain attack, I think it re-emphasized just how dependent we are on our ecosystems. Vanessa, were you impacted with any travel delays when all of that was happening? I know you travel quite a bit.
So no, but I had to book a flight. We normally book through Delta,
Mhm.
and I had to book a flight. And we had some credits, some certificates that it need to be applied, and we couldn't get someone on the line for weeks to be
Mm.
able to book a flight. Because we wanted to take advantage of that certificate. And my husband is like, well, can we just do it online? And I tried all ways, and there was no way. And it was like over and over trying. We were already in our destination when that happened. And I was like I was going to a Tony Robbins conference and I was already there.
Oh.
When that happened, I'm like, God, that I made it 2 days before, because it was insane. There was a lot of people that missed the conference because of that.
Wow. When it was all happening, my youngest son was in Seattle for a concert with a group of friends and his girlfriend, and they couldn't get home. They had
Oh,
to stay in Seattle for like 5 additional days.
which it was not bad for him, but
Yeah,
it might
yeah,
have been
right.
bad for you.
I mean, bad for his paycheck, I guess, right? Because the kid's not stocking shelves at Publix that week. So
Oh my. Oh,
yeah, just
that is
brutal.
insane.
But yeah, it like I said, it underscored just how dependent we are on our vendors, on our partners. So we have to stay really aware. And then ransomware, of course, ransomware continues to be a top threat. If you pull up articles, you'll find that analysts see that the cyber crime is a multi-billion-dollar industry, multi-billion-dollar annually, and that is just so hard to comprehend at our size, right? So as small, medium, even somewhat small enterprises, right? billions of dollars seems just so unrealistic, but the reality is that the average breach, probably the average ransom is probably in the $40,000 to $60,000 range. That's what we see most frequently. But that's just the start of it, right? You've got these long-term costs that you have to think about too.
Yes.
Not only in how many clients are you going to lose? What's your reputational damage? How much are you going to have to pay to provide potentially identity monitoring to the people whose data was breached? So there's all kinds of long-term ongoing costs associated with ransomware. So we're going to talk about other costs, like the idea that cybersecurity is too expensive. Vanessa, what's your take on this one?
That's the myth. How expensive it is to invest, because this is an investment. This is how, when a client comes to us and say, well, I want you to do my accounting. Okay, this is how much it's going to cost. Oh, that's too much. Okay, that's okay. When you have a situation, then you come back to us and it's going to be higher. Because I'm going to show you more. So that is the same thing with cybersecurity. Every time when you were talking, I remember so many different cases, but one of the main things is that the ramifications, the things that interrelate to one little thing that can caught us off guard, and then all the things, the ramifications that come after. Because sometimes it's just something very small with somebody that opened a video, had an information, that video track other information, and how it is relates, because some people don't think about that they have to inform their clients, or they have to inform authorities, or they have to spend countless hours trying to fix something that they do not know how to fix, because that's another problem. It's like when you start, I don't know how to do crochet. And if my daughters tell me, Mommy, can you fix this crochet? I'm going to tell her, I don't know how to fix that. So how many hours do we spend trying to get something that is such a big problem, like a cyber attack, to fix it if we don't have the tools? So that's how high and uncomfortable that can be if we don't have the security for a couple of $100.
So you have all those hidden costs that you're talking about. So there's notifying the state, notifying the IRS, potential legal fees, and so reputational damage, all of that. And then there's the DIY approach, which is what you're talking about. So let me fix this crochet myself. And so it might seem cheaper than maybe going to a seamstress. It's super inefficient, and it might fall apart on you. I sometimes akin it to asking a plumber to hang a door, right? They might know how to do it. It might close, but it might stick. It might swing shut when it's supposed to stay open because it's kind of off kilter. So in construction, we have specialties, right? We have plumbers, we have electricians, we do have GCs for sure. But we often have these subcontractors that are highly specialized, and it's just like that in accounting too. Right, Vanessa, you focus primarily on construction. We have others that focus primarily on nonprofits, and that's because there's so many nuances and intricacies. And so I think that partnering with a managed service provider for cybersecurity is no different than a construction company partnering with you. So it also brings kind of a predictability to it. So how much it's going to cost. And that things are getting done for you. Reporting is often made available for you. And I read several articles recently that are suggesting that through their polls, business leaders are now looking at the spend on cybersecurity as business enablement or revenue enablement, because they're looking at it and saying, okay, yes, it's costing me X number of dollars to keep my organization secure, but it's significantly reducing the chance of a successful breach, which would cause not only the cost of the breach itself, but downtime. And especially in construction, minutes or dollars.
Yes, I have one of those cases that it was, and it's very brief. I know that we have to continue, but in construction, the main part is when we have blueprints, when
Mhm.
everything is in blueprints. And if that confidentiality or that information is breached, then we have a big problem.
Oh yeah.
We have a lot of construction here in Florida, in Miami, in the downtown area, Brickell. And we had a client that went through a situation, and it was because somebody opened an email
Mhm.
and blueprints were in all that problem. And they have to, maybe they don't have to go through what we go through, right? With the IRS and the CCPA
Yet,
and all that
yet,
different stuff.
right?
But
Yet.
they do have to talk to investors
Yep.
and people that have put their trust into these blueprints. This is what happened, and talk to the architects and talk to you know, all of these different people that we may not know as accountants unless you deal with builders and constructions and all that. But it is a lot of damage because now somebody else can take those blueprints and either sell it or figure it out what to do with them that we as accountants may not know, but they already see all the problems that come after that
Yeah.
when something like that is taken out of their hands, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. Insights into infrastructure. Ooh, buddy. That's a tough one to get breached. We talked about social engineering, and you've been talking a lot about, you clicked on a link, and that's, part of that phishing, part of that social engineering. So let's talk about a real world example of the old school phishing. So the voice phishing, right? You guys remember back in 2023 is actually a year ago yesterday, September 10th. I can't believe it's been a
Wow.
year. Yeah.
Wow. God, that seems like it was just yesterday that that happened.
I know it does, but yeah, it was literally a year ago yesterday that the bad actors were able to pull this off. And so what they did was they took publicly available information off social media, so LinkedIn, Facebook, etc. And they were able to pose as an employee, call the company's help desk, and by using the information that was available on social media, they were able to use enough information to impersonate them, know where they were, what they were doing, and come up with a fabricated tale about why they couldn't MFA and get the help desk to reset password, bypass multi-factor authentication, which gave them access into MGM's internal systems. Significant fallout. You guys remember MGM's operations were disrupted, hotel check-ins, casino floor activities. And it really, I think, put a big old highlight across the need for cybersecurity training and for protocols. They went this scattered spider attack was insane. I mean, it went farther and implemented like another identity management platform to maintain access in the system after they got access initially. So is this going to happen to our businesses? No, probably not. But it does reinforce how important it is to train our teams. There are relatively inexpensive options for this, couple dollars a month that provide really robust training with testing and simulated attacks so that as a part of building that culture of security, your teams are constantly aware. It's not just, oh my gosh, and I see this all the time, Vanessa, we have controllers or high level people in organizations. It's often the controller, and everybody in the company will send that person an email that looks suspicious and ask them if it's okay. I kid you not, and I see this all the time, and I'm like, okay, so you're the controller of a construction accounting company, and you are serving as the spam filter for your organization. It's like, can we help you implement
absolutely.
tools? let's
Yes.
let's let's train your team and then also filter out all the junk mail. How about we do those two things? So
Yes. And something that you're saying is it comes back to me. Or normally people say, oh, this only happens to big companies. Those are the ones that they want to target, because why would they want to target me? I make I make $1 million, $2 million a year, or that
Yeah.
is my end revenue, or I'm making money, but I don't think, there's Leonard, and there is, Lansom, and there is this other companies that really are making Minto, they're making money. Why would they come to me? I'm a mom and pop. I'm like, let me tell you, they do all this mom and pops very fast. It's a business. Cyber attack, cyber
Right.
security, all that, it is a business. They have it as a business. And as their business, they're going to make money.
Yeah, and remember, it's not the mom and pop they're after. It's everybody the mom and pop know. It's all the data that the mom and pop have on all of the things that they've done, all of the projects that they've completed. So
They don't see it that way. It is very hard to show them. But once you show them one, they're like, this is real. I'm like,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, for construction, it's the same paradigm shift that accountants have been going through for the last few years. I mean, 3 or 4 years ago, accountants weren't focused on cybersecurity because no one was telling them that they had to, number one. And number two, there was no clear path to getting secure until the IRS, right? The IRS a couple of years ago came out and said, hey, here's 6 things I think you should be doing. And so the tax preparers, they started to perk up and say, those are pretty good ideas. We should do that. And then the FTC a year later came in and said, hey, if you're in accounting, by the way, you should be doing these 8 things, and you should also document what you're doing. So
Yeah.
it's been a crazy journey that we've seen with accounting. It's the same journey we saw with wealth management. And I think that in time, we're going to see more and more industries start to get these same recommendations and then later requirements from the FTC. And I think construction is going to probably be one of them. I'd say in the next 3 to 5 years. That's just my prediction. It's just, I'm throwing a dart at a wall. But the reason I think that is the reasons we're going to be talking about a little later, just how highly collaborative they are and the volume of transactions. And the FTC
Yes.
is going to wake up to that.
Yes, and when we talk about construction and contractors, one of the things that we deal a lot in construction is that they have their end when they have to sell the houses or the communities. And once they have to work with title companies and they have to work with lawyers, even though like we don't have a lot of title companies under our wing, but I see them dealing with papers and with information digitally that it is, oh, send me a WhatsApp. I'm like, what? Wait a minute. So those type of things, we see
Yeah.
it not only in the industry of construction, but also their end, right? The end result after they finish their side of the construction, where the information goes, right? It goes to a
Right.
title company, it goes to a company that is going to do the closing or the real estate, or are they also under cybersecurity, right? And I think that it should be mandatory.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and I think that, the bigger the job too, we've seen this with our construction clients. They occasionally come to us, especially if maybe we're doing their hosting for them, we're hosting Sage or QuickBooks, whatever accounting software they're on. We've had some come to us and say, hey, we need a copy of your SOC 2 and some details about how you're securing our accounting information before we can get this job. Before we can get this job, we bid it and we're in the front running, but until they know how we're securing our practice, we're not going to win. So can you help us? And so we've seen that a few times, and we're seeing more of it. So it's certainly trending where the consumers of the construction services on bigger jobs are starting to ask the construction companies to prove that they have protections in place.
Yes, and also if it is if they're betting on the job, like against somebody and publicly, they
Mhm.
have to have security in place, at least here in Florida.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it is in all the different states, but here in Florida, if you are going to present it in Miami-Dade as the county of Miami-Dade, here in Broward, we don't have in Palm Beach, we don't have a lot of clients from Palm Beach that does the construction of big
Mhm. Like
developments.
fence. Yeah.
But when it is in Miami, if you are going to do any type of construction that have to deal with the with the public, you have to present cybersecurity in place to be able to award it, to get it awarded. So
yeah, we see that with government contracts, and that's what you're talking about. We see construction companies starting to be required to have that CMMC.
yeah.
So yeah, that's we're trending that way. I think I'm gonna write it on the calendar. I'm gonna check back in
3 to 5 years.
4 years. I'm gonna check back in 4 years and see if I was right.
That's a long time.
I know, maybe it'll be faster. All right, so I promise some actionable things that you can do. So here are 4 things that you can do that are completely free, and these are the same 4 things you should be recommending to all of your clients as you start to have conversations about security. Passwords should not be reused. You should never use the same password anywhere, even if you're using a password manager. If you're not already using a password manager, I highly recommend using one. I guess that's the not free part of this, right? But you should have a password manager, and it should have a complex, yet you can remember it, master password. Better yet, consider a passphrase. So a passphrase would be Vanessa loves Visory, and there's some at symbols and dollar signs and things like that. So a nice passphrase. Don't make it that simple though. And secure your master password to your password manager, and then use the tool to generate really crazy, complex 16, 20 character long passwords to all of your systems. And Mandy knows I'm going to get on my soapbox now. Do it for LinkedIn too. Do it for LinkedIn. You have spent a very long time building that network. Don't let a bad actor take it over and make it super complicated and waste your time trying to get it back. Okay. So the next one is MFA. So yep, turn on MFA everywhere. Yeah, absolutely everywhere. So I already got on my soapbox. The next one is to make sure that your PCs are getting patched. So that means that maybe it's a manual process and you don't have a vendor that's doing this for you, or you don't have, you're not big enough to have deployed your own automation tools. So it might be that on the 3rd Thursday of every month, you have a calendar reminder to check for updates. It's free to do. It's just one more thing that you have to add to your to-do list. But if you set up a recurring calendar reminder, then you'll know to do it. Microsoft, I think, usually drops patches on Thursdays. So if you just do it on the 3rd Thursday, you usually catch it. And, short of those really critical patches that come out last minute, you stay on a pretty consistent schedule, then you are in a better place than you were if you never look for the patches until your computer is running slow and you're like, maybe there's updates I need to install. I don't know. The same is going to be true for your software. Typically when software comes out with updates, it is not just to annoy you with having to push the button and install the update. It's because they've identified a security vulnerability and they are building that into their patch. Sometimes it's just for features. It's often for security patches though. So keep your software up to date, especially things like Zoom and your Microsoft Office suites and things like that. And then the last one that I have for you is to make sure that your computer's drives are encrypted. If you don't know if your computer's drive is encrypted, there's a little search bar in your taskbar if you're on a Windows PC, and if you type the words device encryption, there should be an option for you to select there. And so device encryption would be inside of your privacy and security settings. You want to make sure that's on. If your computer does not have a TPM chip, which is your trusted platform module chip, then your PC is probably due for a replacement anyway. You can think of that TPM chip as like a home security system. So there's a lot of other applications that are also leveraging the capability of that TPM chip. But that's also the thing that makes it possible to encrypt your drive. And what that means is if Vanessa leaves her laptop at a Tony Robbins conference because she was just so excited and wanted to get home, somebody can't just remove the drive, plug it into something else and make it work. It would have to have the key that the TPM chip has that checks to make sure that Vanessa is really Vanessa before it lets her into the computer. So encrypt your computers. So those are my 4 freebies, mostly freebies. I guess not totally free. That was a little gotcha there with the password manager. Maybe there's a free one. I wouldn't use it if it was free. Pay for an okay one. Yeah, okay, good. Good talk. All right, so now we're there, right? So what does all this mean? So let's back up. So for accountants, right, we've been talking about the necessity of cybersecurity, and we've seen a lot of accountants adopting it, taking those baby steps towards compliance, which is fantastic. Now it's time that we start talking about our clients. So right, as accountants, you deal with highly sensitive information. We all know that. We know that the IRS and FTC took notice and implemented regulations that you need to adhere to. And here's the thing with construction. We also know that in most cases, construction, the industry, the businesses are slow to adopt technology. That's been my observation. Vanessa, would you?
Yes, I will agree. And it's the lack of knowledge. It is that thing of like, I don't know it. I am
Yeah.
scared if I don't know what is all this, acronyms, the WISP, what is the WIPS, what is the MFA,
Right.
what is this, what is this other thing? Oh, what are you talking about? I don't understand. Those are
Right.
not languages or short things that my daughter or my son talks about. Those are not the things that you say LOL or like, right? Those are not the things that they are used to. And construction is very particular because they're very niche, right? They're very concentrated on what they do. It's not like in service, right? If we do accounting or we do taxes or if we do advisory or if we do, that is it's kind of general, but it's not, but it is kind of an idea, right? If you're in construction, you either know what you're doing or you're out of construction, right? You cannot put one block on top of the other if you don't know how to align it or you don't know how to do electricity, you will probably die. You know what I mean? So you really need to know what you're doing. In those terms, you have to be very specific and very clear about, oh, this is just this. Oh, it's easy. So education, number one.
And in most cases, you as the accountants are the only consultants that a construction company has. You
Oh,
are
yeah.
it. You are there to
Yes.
help them protect their finances. And if they're not already talking to you about cybersecurity, maybe it's because they had a breach that they're talking to you about it. We have an accounting friend, client had a breach. She was the first person they called.
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
Oh,
are
yeah.
you doing anything in our system? We can't get into it. No, no, I'm not. Like you need to be on the phone with a cybersecurity person that can help you unravel this. So yeah, it's you guys time and again are their first phone call. You're their only consultant. And so we believe that over the next 12 months, more businesses are going to start to ask for you to be more involved in the strategic planning for risk management. And so we're talking about incorporating cybersecurity into their budgets. You help
Yeah.
them often with their budgets. We're moving into budget season for most. It's time to talk about things like, okay, how are you protecting your endpoints? How are you making sure that your laptops are secure? How are you making sure that you're not sharing sensitive information with outside parties? How are you protecting all of the inboxes from phishing emails and from spam that's non-productive? These are conversations that we believe accountants are ready to start having because they're the conversations that they were scared to have 3, 4, 5 years ago. And now listen to you. You're like, oh, WISP, MFA. I think 3 years ago, if I'd have asked you what a WISP was, I don't know, you're pretty sharp, you're on it. But was WISP on your radar 3 years ago, or was that in the last 2
It
years?
was one of those things. I started working on my SOPs. I always go back to say it because I'm so used to like hearing it, right? So
Yeah.
I started working on my standard procedures, operating procedures a long time ago, just because I come from like 20 years ago when I was young and beautiful. That time I used to work for ExxonMobil, which is a huge company, right? And there was standards and procedures. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to do my business, I just have standards and procedures. I had something like that when I started it, but it was not formal. And like, I will say 7 years ago or something like that, after like having my business for so long, I said, you know what, I should have something that if I pass it to somebody, nobody can take that on. And like, if I die, they will be able to move on. So those type of things started coming into my head, and I'm like, oh, I need this and I need that. And what if something like that happened? Oh, if I have, then I need, a password manager. And because I'm not going to remember, I don't remember what happened yesterday. I don't remember what I ate this morning. So those type of things, people say, you said something super important. Oh, you have to have a phrase. What if you don't remember the phrase? Like, and those type of things, who is going to have it? Who is that other person that I can trust? Those type of things I was thinking, 5 years ago. And I'm like, oh, I have to have all that in place, because who's going to do it for me? Like, I have my best interest. I have kids, right? So you start thinking about those things, but not everybody start thinking about what is an MFA. Why do I have to have a multi-factor? If this is my cell phone, why do I have to enter 10,000 keys to go in? Well, it is reality, right? So why do I have, some people tell me, and it's very funny, and I don't know if it happens to you guys when you start talking to a client, it's like, why do I have another app to do a multi-factor in my cell phone if it takes space? I'm like, let me tell you, take TikTok off. Really? Do we really need to go over this?
Oh, that's
So,
perfect.
yeah.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. And so I don't think, Vanessa, that you need to talk to all of your clients about the importance of managed detection and response. But where I do see it going is, accountants having trusted providers that they can refer their clients to. And I do think that you guys are poised and ready to say things like, hey, there's three really low hanging pieces of fruit that you should definitely be doing. And are you doing these things? And if not, I've got someone that can help you. And so the low hanging fruit I'm talking about are MFA everywhere, training, cybersecurity awareness training and testing, and endpoint protection. Some sort of next gen threat hunting that is actively looking for behavior of bad things that are about to happen, not waiting for the bad thing to happen and recognizing the signature. So in cybersecurity, it's behavior-based versus signature-based. So the old school antivirus that was out there, remember, we'd have to update it from time to time, and that was because it didn't know about all the new threats. So we would have to update our antivirus. The new ones are often cloud native, which means that every time the master library is updated, it's updated. So it stays up to date in real time and is constantly looking for the pattern. And as the pattern is uncovered, it quarantines and remediates. So low hanging fruit, MFA, cybersecurity awareness training, and some sort of endpoint detection and response. So those are the three low hanging fruit that I think every business should have in place, regardless of their size.
I'm going to say there should be a fourth one.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I think that backups is that number 4, that you have regular backups on your data. Here's an example for you. Somebody accidentally deletes your whole team's channel.
This definitely didn't happen at Visory.
It definitely didn't happen at Visory. All of your sales and marketing information is gone. And you notice 2 days later, it's gone. Everything that you've been working on for years is gone. If you would not have a backup in place, it's gone. The data is just gone. 036 Microsoft does not back up for accidental deletions. So
and it was deleted, not just in the recycle bin. So it was actually toast.
It was gone. And people just think, oh, it's in the cloud. It's safe. It's in the cloud. It's being backed up. That is not the case. So I would say a really good backup solution that you are testing on a regular basis is that fourth low-hanging fruit that is a necessity just because of that business continuity in the event of an accidental deletion or something else.
You are absolutely right. And so yeah, I think it is time to expand my bare minimum 3 to a bare minimum 4, and it is super affordable too, which is nice.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, this 365 or G Suite backup, super affordable, and does give you another layer of business resiliency, you know, in the event of something bad happening. In this
QuickBooks
case,
Online backups too. Same
yeah,
thing. You
that's
know,
true.
Creo
Yeah.
does not back up the data. It is the platform is backed up, but your data is not backed up.
Vanessa,
So,
you have clients on QBO, yeah?
Yes,
mm,
yes.
Are they all, do you have them all on some kind of a backup for that?
Yeah, we have the ones that are on QuickBooks Plus or Essentials, they have an application that we download on a regular basis. Like it does it automatically.
Rewind or something like that?
Rewind.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
Rewind.
yeah.
And
And
there's
the
other
one,
options out there, but yeah, I mean,
yes, Rewind is just it's just affordable
mhm.
and it's there and it does it. So I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
And then for the QuickBooks Advanced, it does it automatically. Like I just set it up. That's the first thing that it's set up because it comes with the program. So we just set it up from the beginning. But then again, as long as I don't have to do it, and we have the help from people like you and from people like Rewind that say, you know what, we got you, you got you covered. Don't worry. I'm happy
yeah,
because what you're saying, you know, all this 4 different things that we need to do. I don't want to do it, man. I'm an accountant. I'm your advisor. I will help you get where you have to do. But advisor will do it for you. Rewind will do it for you. And I don't want to deal with it.
yeah.
So
Drop
yeah.
Suite's another one for QBO backups. I don't know if that one's on your radar, Vanessa, but that's the one that we chose to deploy for our QBO clients. So
Okay. Okay.
accountants that are listening, if your clients are on QBO, make sure they're backed up. Okay,
Yeah.
Yes.
that's our PSA. And my gosh, we talked about this some, and I think it goes back to another really important reason that QBO is backed up. So, yeah, why do you think construction is one of the top targets? And I'm gonna tell you, it's often the top one or two in terms of industries that are targeted, and it's like financial services, construction keep just trading that number one ranking, which is not a number one ranking you want.
Oh, the smallest. Yeah. And it's like, oh, ding, 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 ding. You have a trophy. You won. Like you really don't want that, right? So large transactions, just like you're explaining there, large transactions go from can be a very small contractor you're paying $50,000, like a small contractor, like something very small. And people say, oh, but that is small for this company that is in construction because construction companies normally deal with those type of deals. Yeah, but $50,000 is a big hit if it is 3 or 4, $50,000 or 5,000, you know, 5 of them. So when they see it, if they're paying 50,000 to this contractor and 50,000 to this another contractor, and another 50,000 comes out and they don't see it, this two are approved, this one went through. They didn't see it until 3 months, 4 months after, unless their accountant is on top of it,
Yeah.
right? That transaction went out. By the time that they catch it, it's already gone. We had a company that we just finalized their, you know, they came after the fact. And it was so sad because they have different transactions and it was transactions that they were getting paid for progress invoicing. And they were
Hmm.
just doing progress invoicing in QuickBooks, a very simple accounting. And they were doing payments of 200,000 until to the contractors until it was done. And they have 3 more done to this contractor because the payments were recurrent. And they were, and thank God, again, that it was to people that they trusted. And they're like, oh, you have $600,000, they're ours. And we were able to collect them back and apply it to other invoices and other things. But again, those were already done. Those were already gone. So, and that was not cyber attack, but it's still, what if it was? They wouldn't have even noticed that that came out. And those are $600,000. I told them, if you have $600,000 just laying around, just pass it on my account. I have an account. I will receive it. I can go, yeah, right, Mandy, you and I would go traveling. It's going to be all
Yeah.
fine. You know what I mean? So they don't see it until the fact, especially
Yeah.
when there are those big amounts. And when we talk about numerous contractors, there's a lot of people that think that construction companies have all figured it out, and they don't. There's a lot of contractors that bill and they receive the bill. Oh, this is a contractor we need to pay. Oh, this is a contractor. And there are piles and piles of bills that they just want to get over it. They want this pile to come down, right?
Mhm.
All this pile, they needed to come down here. And some of them, they even use apps to receive bills. And sometimes they're so, like, there's so much going on that they just hit enter and the payment goes and they don't even know who they're paying.
Mm.
They just want to get over it. So yes, construction won, like they're right there with financials, right? Winning the trophy of, you know, whole.
I think
So
another reason
Yeah.
that they're up at the top too is that they're slow adopters. I mean, slow adapters. They're not putting the security, especially smaller construction companies, they're not
yeah,
putting the security in place. And so that makes them prime targets. And they're like, well,
yeah.
I'm small. Yeah, they get $10,000 from you. Most of these bad actors from these countries that they're coming from maybe make $3,000 a year as their salary. $10,000 is huge money to them.
Course, of course. We're talking about people that is what they said, well, if I'm gonna make $2,000 a year for my salary, and if I make $10,000 scheming,
Yeah.
going into
Well, and
cyber attack with other people, this makes my year.
And remember
Oh,
that
fun.
ransomware as a service, malware as a service have become big industries. So you've
Yeah.
got people that know how to write the code. I'm going to
Oh
call it the
yeah.
bad code. They're really
Oh, there's
good at
there's
writing bad
YouTube
code.
out there.
Yeah.
And
And
you go into YouTube and you know how to create a, like, isn't that incredible?
it is absolutely insane. That and then it's like a pyramid scheme too. So you write something that's really bad, you do a really good job at it. Other people will give you a cut of what they get when they use it. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing, and
Terrible.
it didn't exist a few years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy what's going on. But yeah, I absolutely agree that the I, I forget where this slide came from, if it was one of yours or not, but yeah, it's construction's highly collaborative. So you're interacting with high volumes of people, vendors, customers, prospects. You're submitting bids, you're getting bills, you're sending out checks, and lots and lots of transactions, often wire transfers still. I'll give you a real world example. I'll spend 30 seconds on it because you've got a toolbox that I want to get into. So the real world example, we had a customer call us. They were like, hey, we want to talk about our security. And I thought, oh man, they're gonna really grill us. They want to know what we're doing. I'm gonna bring a couple people to this call. We get on the call, and long story short, they did not have multi-factor authentication turned on their Microsoft. They did not have multi-factor authentication turned on their Sprint account for their cell phones, right? Their telephone plan. And so a phishing email went to someone with elevated permissions within the organization. They gave up their credentials, which is often what phishing emails are for. The bad actor created themselves an admin account within Microsoft. They then rerouted all email to themselves, so that they could approve emails going back out, so that they could intercept any 2FA codes that were turned on for other systems. And they created a bypass for text messages for the same reason, and made it all the way to the point that they had redirected a wire transfer for the bank. And the bank is the one that caught it. The bank said, this is different than usual. Let's make a phone call. And at that point, the company was alerted that this had happened. So, I mean, yeah, construction is targeted.
You know that some of the people that we have you're saying it, and I'm hearing it from like every other client that I have. They come to me and they say, oh, don't worry. If it happens, the credit card will let me know. I'm like, oh, good to know that your company, your credit card is alerting you that you should be on top of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, and it is a reality. It is a
But what happens
reality.
if someone redirects those alerts, right?
Yeah.
So you don't get the alert that the transaction took place. So
Yeah.
I think that's a perfect segue to why you need tools in your toolbox.
Yes, yes. So one of the things that we see as part of our construction business, right? Our construction clients, is that they all relate everything to a toolbox, right? When I'm talking to them, I have to go back to their language. And one of the things that we go over is like the same way that you have a process, right? That is part of your toolbox. What is that process that you utilize to either create the blueprints, either to receive the blueprints, either to finalize it with the county, either to the same way that you have in strategic planning tools. Okay, what is that in strategic planning? How do you use it? Oh, we have to learn this. We have to do CAD. We have to understand all that. Okay, all of those apps, where they live, all of those solutions, where do you have them? Oh, you have them here. Oh, I have. Okay, do you have security on those? The same way that we have a toolbox or a solution for accounting, right? If you have accounting, why do we do the backup for QuickBooks Online? It's not that we don't trust that we have to go through putting your email and then sending a code to your phone number and then sending a code to your email. The same way that we have we have to have backups, just like Mandy was saying. Why will we back up our QuickBooks? Because sometimes they decide to install an app all of a sudden, and they're like, oh, we're going to synchronize this. Like, why are you doing that if you haven't talked to me? And they synchronize something and something is a disaster. So those type of things, that's why we back up. So I have to explain it to them in the same way. Now, when we talk about communication tool, and I'm going to leave the cybersecurity for the best, is that communication tools we use. What do we use for communication? If we use anything that is in a server that is encrypted, we use it for communication, like we use TaxZone. Okay, so we're going to communicate into there. Don't send me a text. I'm not going to receive it. I'm going to block it. It's
Just
not
send
going
me
to
your
be.
bank account information
No,
or
it's not
WhatsApp.
going to.
Just
No, WhatsApp. I'm like, dude, it doesn't work. It's not going to work. Or here's my credit card with a picture. Dude, really? I like, please. So my mom has done that. And I'm
My
like,
dad, my dad does that to me often. Here, Maynard, here's my
Maggie,
credit card.
I know. My mom is like, I'm like, dear Heavenly Father, why would you do that? Like, you don't understand. This is fast.
we
This
laugh
happens very
about it, but like this is happening. This is happening
every
right now.
second.
Someone
Every
is
second,
sending a
Sam.
picture. Yeah.
Every second. Every millisecond. How can you call that, right? Like we're talking and this happens incredibly.
Yep.
So then we have the cybersecurity tools. And when we talk about that, is what I was telling you. You guys are doing a phenomenal job, right? In Visory, doing all the things that as an accountant, we present as a solution, because we're solution providers. At the end, we provide all these solutions to clients. And I don't want to do it. I really don't. The same way that I don't want to deal with how to implement a tax or how to implement a process administration. I will help you, but I want my partners like Visory to do the cybersecurity, because you know what? I don't want to. I may help you if, as an advisor, I may help you to do, okay, let's establish a password manager. Let's do that. That's my first step. Let's do a password manager. After I have you there, then this is the tool that you need. Because again, I want to focus on what I love. And what I love is doing accounting and financial advisory. I don't want to do anything else. But you have to follow. I was telling before we started this training, this chat, that I was saying to people, just the same way. And I always go back to that example, because once I heard it, it came to my mind, and it's like, it's fresh all the time. You don't go to Starbucks to tell them how to do their coffee. You don't bring your coffee, your coffee creator or your coffee mug. You don't tell them how to do the coffee. They know how to do the coffee. You just tell them, what do you want? That is Visory for the cybersecurity tools. Because again, you guys are the expert. It's like if I sit with you and I tell you, well, this is what you should put in your tax form. This goes here, and number 19A and B should be this amount. And this, you would tell me, oh, Vanessa, thank you for telling me, but you know what you're doing, right? That is the same thing for cybersecurity. So yes, every business needs this toolbox. Every business. We're talking about from the florist, right, to the one that does landscaping, to the one that is construction, to the one that have an electrician. Like the other day, I had the person that does my air conditioner, and there was a problem with my air conditioner, and he was telling me, oh, what was the email, the password that you used for your registration of the console for the AC? I'm like, first of all, I'm not giving you that. And second of all, if we need a part, you let me know and I will figure it out. They don't have a security put in place for this type of things. So I have to talk to him. I'm like, do you use LastPass? Do you use this? I can, whatever password manager you use, let's just go over it. I can send you like that encrypted, and maybe you can receive it and do this part. But everybody needs a toolbox of solutions to be able to get the protection for everything that they need, right? Against communication, breakage or cybersecurity or accounting or anything like that. So yeah, I can talk about it.
And you guys have been talking about process automation. You've been talking about financial planning. You've been talking about being strategic in their businesses with them for years. And so now you get an opportunity to strengthen that relationship even further and build an even better relationship with them by looking out for them and their cyber footprint, their cyber risks. And that goes right along with building that culture of security and talking about it. We don't just not talk about it. It's okay to ask them what they're doing. It's okay to ask them if they feel comfortable with their approach.
Yes.
And those are the conversations that we're starting to see accountants having with their clients. So
education is key, Sam, and something that you said that we are doing. And a couple of years ago, we started with that, is to put in their budget. There's a line that says cybersecurity. Whatever the programs, the company that you're going to hire, whoever you're going to use, or whatever you decide, we're going to put a budget for it, and we're doing it for us, because that shouldn't be something that, oh my God, it comes as a
surprise. Yeah. That's a great tip for all of our accounting friends listening. If you're not doing that, I love that. That is such a great tip. So don't only talk about it, but build it into their budget, help them allocate a certain percentage of their revenue towards it. So we're almost exactly at time. I'll skip to there. So you have our contact info. So if you want to continue the conversation, talk with me and Mandy about some ways that we can help empower you to have these conversations with your clients. We'd be happy to do that. We know that this is still a pretty complex topic. So, if you wanted to talk about how to put some tools in your toolbox to have those conversations, we would love to have that conversation with you. And then if you have clients that directly just need help, we'd be happy to talk with them too. So, Mandy, sorry, I did a lot of words there.
That's a lot of words. You always do a lot of words, but that's fine. Thank you, Vanessa, so much for joining us. It was really, really great having you. And I don't get to see you at Appy Camp, but hopefully I'll get to see you soon.
Yes. And one thing that I want to say just to close, Sam and Mandy, if you allow me to,
Please.
It is that, remember, to everybody, to the accountants, to the construction companies, to any company out there, it shouldn't be something that you feel a burden. It is not that expensive. It is affordable, And it gives you this peace of mind, the same peace of mind that accounting gives you when you have all your numbers. It's the same peace of mind that you know that if something may happen, you are in control, because there's nothing more horrible than not feeling in control. When you feel that you don't have control of your things or the things that you have worked so hard for, it's very uncomfortable. Just saying.
You're
That's
right.
a
Yeah,
way to leave it.
that
Yep.
is a great way to close. Thank you, everyone, for joining
Bye,
us. And
everyone.
Vanessa, hopefully we can have you back again someday.
Yes, of course. I would love to.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.